Hi, I'm back again. What I'm going to do this time is show you some of the basics of Visual Basic and how to start a new program. Okay, so I've installed Visual Basic Community 2017, and it's a little bit strange in that you have to set up which language you want when you first install it. So choose Visual Basic, and then you open it. Next time you open it, you'll get a screen that looks something like this one down here, and you can launch a new project. I have Windows Form here, or again, you can always come up here and hang on, let me close this because I kind of went ahead a little bit here. You should be able to go up here and do new project like that. And you can see here different languages and stuff. We want Visual Basic, of course. And we want the second one down here. Okay, the Windows Forms app for most of ours. All right. So when I do that, before I go to the next screen, though, I want to put the name of my application in because I really don't want it just to be the default, okay? So I'm going to call this nothing, let's put it here, sample applicate, or just sample, okay? So I do that, I hit OK. And it should create the project. At this point, it's creating the folder that all the files for the program are going to be saved in, okay? So that's what you're going to zip up eventually and send to me. So here we are. Here's our screen. Here's our default form, basic building block. This is an object, okay, that we're going to put other objects on that are called controls. For the most part in this course, the objects, this is object-oriented programming, but the objects have already been created for us, okay? You don't get to create your own objects per se until future courses. What we're going to do with our object, the form in most cases, is to manipulate its properties and its methods, okay? So that's what we're going to do. But I didn't. So right now you can see here, here's the form. We're going to rename it. The first thing you should do is always name everything. Okay? So you can see here, here's our sample project. Then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to right click on that form 1, and I'm going to use book title capitalism, or the book title, the camel hump naming convention here. And so I'm going to call it main form. And notice right here, okay, that it looks like a camel hump, right? I start with a small letter M, A-I-N, and then any subsequent words are capitalized the first letter to make it easy to read. I could have used the Hungarian notation, and I'll allow you to do either one. If I was going to name it with Hungarian notation, it would look like this. It would be FRM main, like that, where this is lowercase, capital M, but FRM is an abbreviation for the main. Using the camel hump one, where it's main form, you have to put the whole object name here. So, for example, you'll see here in a minute how you do that, okay? So there is our main form renamed, okay? And then we're going to click on our form over here, and you'll see its properties, okay? We have a list of them here. Right now there's nothing on it, so the only thing is we have the form, and we're going to change the text to, we can just call it the sample program. And the text property is what's up here in the title bar, this right here, okay? That is what the text property is. Okay? All right. Trying to see here. Over here on the left-hand side, don't worry about data sources. That's for when we do databases. Click on Toolbox, and then we can click on All Windows Forms or Common Controls, either one, and you'll see a list of the controls that we're going to use. Okay? So the first one, let's put a label on our form. You can either double-click it or drag it off onto your form. And I have some conventions that I'm going to introduce right now. The first one is, again, that we name it, but not down here. That's the text. The name is way up at the top. Okay, and since I'm using camel hump here, this will be, how about title label? Okay, so I called it title label. And I want it to be at least 12 point. That's the minimum font you should be using unless there's a specific reason why. Okay? And so you click on the ellipses off to the right there, and I'm going to make it 12 Arial, or even bigger maybe even. Okay, I'm going to go Arial, and I'm going to say 18, and how about just bold? That looks pretty good. To move the object around or the control around, you just grab it and drag it with your mouse. Okay, I'm just going to set it there for now. And I got my font. I can control color, the 4 colors, the font color. I got it in black. And what do I want to do? Oh, I want to change it, what it says here. And then we're just going to say the sample program. And you can see that pops up. So I got that. So that's my first label. Now if I look in my objects here, you can see my main form and my title label. So you always want to check in here before you submit anything to me to make sure that you don't have any default names here. Okay, there should be nothing like label 1, text 1, that kind of thing. Okay? So let's put something else on here. We can put, how about a text box? That's always an easy one. Double click, comes over here. Now, you can see here again that this is small, okay? And it's really too small. I don't really want it that way. So I'm going to delete it. And what you can do to prevent that is when you create your form and put the name in, when you first name it, go up here to the text size. Let me click on it. Or font size. And set the default to 12. Okay? And then you'll always know that the font for any object you create after that point will be at least 12. So now if I go back down to my text box, double click it, and now it's at least a 12. Okay. And there's a text box ready for use. Now the difference between, you can see the difference between a label and a text box. Labels are always used to display something that you don't want the user to change. Text boxes are meant for user input, okay? Don't use your text boxes as labels, even if the book does, okay? I don't know that this book does, but I've seen books where they've used a text box and then turn off its enabling. They've disabled it, so it still shows up, but it's like grayed out. Don't do that. Make it a label, okay? And if you're going to have a text box, you should have a prompt for the text box. So you would add another label. You can do that and drag it over here. And then we can say this one would be, might be called name label. Okay, and the text might be, oh, I'm sorry, that's the text. What the text is going to be is enter your name, something like that. And then we'll go up here, call it the name label. Okay, make sure your controls don't lap over one another. Okay. And you can align stuff. There's, if you look up here under format, you can align stuff. You can set your verticals, and we'll get more into that later on. This first program, or the first two programs, do nothing. All you have to do is design the form with the controls on it. It doesn't even have to work, okay? If I'm thinking right. And here's a button. We can put a button down here. Buttons in my class should either run logically from top to bottom or logically from left to right, okay? The last button down here should almost always will be your exit button, okay? And so then we go down here, and the convention for exiting the accelerator key is the X. To set an accelerator key, we put an ampersand in front of the letter that we want it to use. So you can see here, I have a small underscore underneath the X, so I can use Alt-X to exit my program. Okay? So it looks something like that. It should be big enough. Again, you don't want controls. When you're doing Visual Basic, you have to have two things, really. You have your coding that's eventually going to go in here, and you also have to have a little bit of design knowledge, okay? In other words, I don't need my form this big, but I don't want it to be right up against my controls, okay? In other words, you would never want to do this. It's like put my exit button like here. Okay, it looks hokey. We want to put it like there. We want to line stuff up, make it symmetrical, or whatever you want to call it. And in fact, if all I was going to do here is have somebody enter their name, I could make my form. I can't get the edge of it right now. There it is. I can make my form a lot smaller, but I don't want to make it too small. Okay, you're not paying for this class by how many. They're called twits. It's the size. Okay, so you don't want to do that. Anyway, that's just kind of how you get in and that kind of thing. Again, to save, you hit File, or it should just hit Save All. Boom, where do you want to save it to? You can see here I've got mine saving to that. Hit Save, and it's saved. Close it. And now, of course, I could go in to my, where I'm saving stuff on my D drive, and under my documents, and 124, and you can see here, sample. I would right click it, and send to compressed. And there it is. And now I can put it in my ePortfolio by just going to over here to courses. I don't know if I'm going to have enough time here with this recording. I'm limited to 15 minutes. And you just go over here to 124, and then portfolio, and let's say that I'm Mr. or whoever this person is, Bushnell, and I can say file exchange and add the file. And then I would say sample, browse my computer, and put it in. Okay, I got to go because I've ran out of time. But that should give you a good heads up on how to get started. See you later.